Okay, so gentlemen, let's continue now with some Melachot Shabbat, Melachot of Bishul. So yesterday we spoke about the introduction of the 39 Melachot is Bishul. The actual list in the Mishnah says Ofeh, baking, and we explained why does it say Ofeh, and then actually refer equally to Bishul. And the classic answer the Gemara brings is because Sidra de Patnakat, the Tana of the Mishnah, the author of the Mishnah, wanted the mnemonic for us to remember the Melachot, and part of the mnemonic was how you make bread. The final process of making bread is baking. That's why the Mishnah lists Ofeh, but Ofeh and Bishul are equal. Then we spoke about the different levels of the Isur. There's Bishul Ba'esh, or Betoldot Ha'esh, cooking in a fire, or any derivative of the fire. And then there's cooking in the sun, or derivative of the sun. The sun is Mutar, Esh and its derivative are Asur Mina Torah, and the derivative of the sun is Asur Midarabanan. Very good. That was a quick recap of yesterday. Halacha bet Bishul beKli Rishon sheusar min ha'esh. Cooking in a Kli Rishon that was removed from a fire. So right now we introduced two very important topics. Number one is Kli Rishon. What's a Kli Rishon? Very good. Kli Rishon literally means first vessel. What does that help in any way? This halacha, this concept is important to know. It comes up everywhere, by basar b'chalav, by Shabbat, by bliot, by Pesach, anywhere that there's a concern of cooking or transmitting of taste. This concept comes up called Kli Rishon. It literally means the original heat source, or the pot that was originally heated up itself. Okay? The Kli Rishon is the first utensil that was heated up on the fire itself. So we're talking about a Kli Rishon, so something that was directly on the heat source, Shehusar min ha'esh, that was removed from the fire, that was taken off the heat source. Good? So Kli Rishon, that was removed from the heat source. Halacha explains, Kli Rishon, vehu ha'kli she'mishtamshim bo al ha'esh, and he defines it also. The Kli Rishon is a keli, is a utensil that is used on a fire. Classic example is a pot. You have a pot that you make your pasta in, you make your rice in, you make your gondi in. That is a Kli Rishon when it's on the fire. Afilu le'achar sheheviruhu me'al ha'esh, even after that it was removed from the fire, dino kedin toldot ta'ur. Its status is that of a toldot ta'ur, a derivative of the fire. Umevashel kozman shayat soledet bo, and it still is capable of cooking so long that it's still yad soledet bo. What does this mean? This is also a very important concept in Melachot Shabbat. Not necessarily boil. The literal translation is yad soledet bo is the temperature at water which your hand will recoil if you touch. Okay? Yad soledet bo. You'll recoil, it's hot. So Kelly said nicely, boiling water. In theory, yes, but we're going to get to it eventually. It's a huge machloket achronim. How do you define that temperature of the yad soledet bo? But again, the halacha is, let's assume boiling, a Kli Rishon, a pot that was on the fire, that boiled, that are removed off the fire, so long that it's still hot, still yad soledet bo, it's still considered like toldot ta'ur, a derivative of the fire, and umevashel, and will cook so long that it's still hot. Lefichach, therefore, asur min Torah liten letocho tavlin. It is forbidden from the Torah to pour in it any spices. So now we're getting very, very, very halacha l'maaseh. What's the question? I want to add spices. Not salt, not pepper. Let's talk about other types of spices that women add to the dish. Do the spices, can they be cooked? Of course. If they weren't cooked before, it's a problem. So I can't pour the spices on Shabbat onto the pot that's on the fire or the heat source when it's the yad soledet bo because it's cooking. What if I remove the pot from the fire, remove the pot from the plata, let's say? If it's still hot, I still can't pour the tavlin in it either. The spices either. Why? Because it's considered cooking.
We're not talking about the pot. We're talking about a full heat source.
It doesn't matter how. If it's hot, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
At this stage, correct. Because it's hot. It's cooking. It's cooking. But the spices were not yet cooked, so it's a problem. So they bring the footnotes. It's actually a big machloket Rishonim. The Rashba and the Ran say that that a Kli Rishon that was removed from the fire can only cook water and wine and oil that are easily cooked. Everything else does not cook. The Yerushalmi says that also a Kli Rishon can only cook when it's on the fire, and the Ramban brings it as well. However, we hold like the Rabbeinu Tam, Ri, Rambam, and Rosh, that as long as it's still Yad Solerbo, even if it was removed from the fire, it can still cook. So again, it's a big Machloket Rishonim. They bring all the opinions, but it's a very interesting topic. If we wanted to dive into it in depth, we could as well.
I think the plata gets Yad Solerbo.
Of course it does, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about plata very quickly. Don't worry. Okay. Very good. So that was
Roshan. What was it, Rambam?
the Rabbeinu Tam, Ri, Rambam, and Rosh all say that even if it's not on the fire, Yad Solerbo can cook, but it's Yad Solerbo, it can still cook, and the Shulchan Aruch holds like them. The Shulchan Aruch says Shin Yod Chet Seif Tet. It's posek like them. So that's a very important applicable halacha. And again, we're building a ladder. We understand fire, heat source, sun, heated by the sun. Now it's a Kli Rishon. Next is Bishul Bechama, cooking in the sun. Mutar levashel b'Shabbat bechama, ולכן מותר להניח ביצה נגד קרני השמש בכדי שתצלח. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm allowed to cook with the sun on Shabbat. Therefore, I can leave my egg in the rays of the sun, so it gets cooked, so it gets roasted by the sun. No problems. It's a Gemara Meforeshet, Masechet Shabbat, Daf Lamed Amud Aleph. Very simple. Brought down halacha as well. Good? Very good. Continuing, next topic, Bishul Betoldot Chama. Now what about cooking in something that was warmed up from the sun, in the derivative of the sun? Okay? So we spoke about it yesterday briefly. He's going to get into more detail now. Asur midarabanan levashel בתולדות חמה בשבת, ולכן אסור ליתן ביצה בתוך מחבת חמה שהתחממה מחום השמש. Very important halacha. I can cook in the sun directly, but I can't cook in something that was heated by the sun. Therefore, the Gemara says it's forbidden to put an egg in a pan that was heated by the sun and cook in the pan. Because the pan is a derivative, and we said we're scared that we're going to mix up the derivative of a fire, the derivative of the sun, so it's an Isur Derabanan. Good. Ulam, however, we're good. Here we are. We're good. Yep. However, mutar liten betza betoch machavat kara velaniach neged kanei hashemesh de'av שהמחבת עצמה מתחממת כן גם כן מחום השמש ומסייעת למאכל שבתוכה להתבשל בכל מקום עיקר הבישול נעשה על ידי השמש. Very, very good. The halacha says, however, what's the exception to this? I'm allowed to crack my egg, put it in a pan that's cold, that's in the inside. Then take that outside in Elat or in Arizona and leave that in my backyard, and then cook the egg like that. Oh, but the pan is also heating up from the sun. It doesn't matter. The sun is cooking the egg and the pan simultaneously, so that would be mutar. Okay, so very interesting halacha. And then the $1 million discussion on this topic is a dud shemesh, is a solar panel boiler system that Baruch Hashem all of Israel uses nowadays. Is that mutar or not? We'll talk about that later on. There's a lot of literature. Ravadi has a few long shuvot about it. Every Acharon talks about it. We'll get there in a few seifim. But that's going to be fun. But that's going to. I'm just planting the seeds for everything. Can you shower? Can I wash my hands? Can I use the hot water? All of that category in a dud shemesh, not our boilers. New York, Unfortunately, we're old-fashioned. We don't got that stuff. We don't have that technology. We don't have the solar panel boilers. But in Israel, they do. It's called a dud shemesh. It's a dud is a boiler. Shemesh is a sun, and it's boiled via the sun. Can you use hot water on Shabbat there? We'll discuss that in due time later on. Good. We have a few minutes. We'll continue. Bishul be mikrogal. What's mikrogal? Microwave. Very good. Gal means wave. Mikro is micro. That wasn't such a big chidush in Hebrew. Bishul be mikrogal. Cooking with a microwave. This is another big discussion. A big chidush. Very good. So we'll get there. Yesh mi shekatav shebishul be'atzamot chom she'eno mufak min ha'esh ukegon b'machshir ha'mikrogal eno asur ela miderabanan ומכל מקום במכשירי המיקרוגל המצויים כיום, הכל מודים שאסור להשתמש בהם מן הTorah. So very good. We have to get into a little bit of a science class right now. What's a microwave? How does the microwave cook your food? How does it heat up your food? Not cook, warm up your food.
The sides are hot, that fire,
No, good question, good attempt. It's basically, you want ChatGPT it. Do you have your phone? Ask Chat. Do better explanation than I. Basically what it does, it moves the moisture in the food, and that movement of the moisture heats it up. There's no fire. You're right, Ariel? I'm good? There's no fire. There's no heat source. If you put your hand in there, you might get radiation poisoning, but it's going to maybe explode the moisture in your fingers. You're not going to burn your hand like you'll burn in a fire. What does ChatGPT say?
Yeah, saying like, if anything that causes water molecules to vibrate rapidly.
Exactly what I said. That causes heat.
Yeah.
So the frequency makes the water molecule vibrate, which in turn heats up the food. There's no fire. There's no heat. How does that categorize? How is that categorized? How does that affect? Does that fall into the category of fire or tolot ha'esh? So this is a famous discussion of Rav Moshe Feinstein. Moshe Feinstein writes that there's an isur deoraita to cook in a microwave. Why? Remember yesterday I said based on Rashi, why is it asur to cook on Shabbat in different types of mechanisms? Why is it mutar to cook in the sun? Rashi in the Gemara on Daf Lamed Aleph says because eno derech bishulo. When I cook in the sun, that's not how we cook. How many of us have ever cooked something in the sun? Collectively, 0. How many times have you eaten food in your life? 4 times a day for the past 20-something years? So it's 0 out of 1,000 plus ratio for the amount of food we've eaten that was cooked from the sun. So Rashi explains that because the sun is not the way you normally cook, therefore, it's not chayav in bishul. So Rav Moshe Feinstein comes and takes that opinion of the Rashi and extends it to the microwaves. It says, it wasn't the way it was cooking. That's why the sun is mutar. But what about a microwave? How many people warm up their food in a microwave? Every home in America has a microwave. Everyone uses it. That's the way that it's normally cooked. That's the way that you heat up food. Therefore, Rashi's opinion applies, and it's asur mideoraita. Massive chidush of Moshe Feinstein. He wrote Moshe Or Chaim, Chilek Gimel, Siman Nun Bet. Massive chidush, and he says therefore it is asur mideoraita. However, it's a very big. He's a dat yachid. Most achronim argue. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach disagrees and says because there's no heat, there's no fire, the isur of microwave is only midirabanan. ולא נתכוון רש"י לממר אלא כיוון דאין דרך לבשל בחמה אינו דומה לבישול שהיה במשכן לפיכך אין זה קירוב בישול. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says, I get where you're coming from, Moshe Feinstein. Derech bishul, not derech bishul. But that doesn't apply to the microwave. Rashi was talking about how it was normally cooked in the Mishkan. But by here, that doesn't apply necessarily. It doesn't take effect, and it doesn't apply. So that's the famous discussion on microwaves. Lehalacha, however, today, because most achronim say there's another issue when it comes to microwaves. Nowadays, the problem with microwaves is the other elements that might be a problem with the oraita of havara, of igniting a flame. The Achronim write in the name of Rosh in the Rosh Auerbach, I think. They say that there's there's the prohibition of Mav'ir, of kindling a fire. Whenever you turn on a microwave and the light that's in it turns on, and that's Hav'ara. Correct. Maybe not. I don't know if it's LED or not. But also, when you turn on when you ignite the waves of the what do we call it? The electromagnetic waves. Some Achronim said that's also an issue of Hav'ara. So it's an issue of so it's the provision of Bishul so it's an Isur de Oraita. So again, it's a very cute Torah if you want to flex and show people that you know Melachot Shabbat well. Ask them what is the microwave? What's the status of the microwave on Shabbat? Oh, they get excited. Oh, you're still learning. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Rabbi Moshe Auerbach. But nowadays it's used to it's a good flex. Whatever it is, it's still Asur today. Most people hold Asur Mideoraita, but it's a famous discussion in Achronim. It's a famous halacha that should be discussed, and it's important to learn as well. We got a few minutes. We'll go a few more minutes. One more halacha. We're good. Very good. Machshir edim chamim. במכשיר עדים חמים אין גוף חימום מתהלט ולפיכך אם קלו המים מן המכשיר בשבת מותר ליתן לתוכו מים רותחים. This is also a massive chidush. We're talking about, I think it's edim is what's it called whenever in English whenever you put edim is not smoke. It's not smoke. No. Whenever evaporate, what's it called? The water. Yeah, the opposite. The machine that produces humidifier. Humidifier. Not a dehumidifier. A humidifier. Okay. Let's say someone is dry, is chapped, whatever. They put a humidifier and it releases humidity into the room. That process obviously is isur mideoraita. It boils the water. When you boil water, it evaporates. That vapor is what humidifies the room. Good? The halacha over here, they're explaining in simple that because the humidifier itself doesn't necessarily have any problem of bishul in it, it's only cooking the boiling water. If you pour boiling hot water that's already cooked in it, then it will be mutar to use on Shabbat. Again, it's a big kula, it's a big leniency.
Pour what? Boiling hot water?
Boiling hot water into a humidifier so that it doesn't boil anything and just evaporates it will be mutar on Shabbat.
Really?
There's a big, that's what they bring down.
How does it, you have to press a button for it to work?
No, it needs to be on obviously. You can't start it. It has to be on, you need to run out and you pour adding more water.
So you just pick it, open the thing and you pour water?
If you pour boiling hot water in a humidifier that's already on, according to this, it would be mutar. Because you're not cooking, and there's no cooking happening in the machshir. Again, you have to check every item itself, make sure that the times haven't changed.
Changing forms of water, like meaning the
it's going from cold to boiling is a problem. But from boiling to evaporation, you didn't do anything. It was already boiling hot. It was already evaporating on its own. It's just, yeah.
The first thing you said about so you were saying the Melachot Rishonim is about whether you have a kli that's whatever, whether that could cook, right?
Yeah.
You said that you could, and that applies even to pot as well.
Yeah.
So that's sort of go take spices and put it on your stuff on the pot.
Yeah, exactly. So this halacha, by the way, it's a big machlokat achronim, and Rav Or Letzion is machmir. He says Fardim shouldn't do this; they shouldn't pour hot water in it. I even asked Rabbi Chaim what he thinks, so it's a big discussion. The author is saying it's mutar, but Or Letzion is saying machmir, and it's important to clarify later on as well. Good. We can do one more. We'll do one more. We'll wrap up for today. Davar hara'ui la'achila af belo bishul. Awesome category. Something that can be eaten raw, even if you don't need to cook it, like an apple.
Steak.
No, steak I can't eat raw. Talking about things that raw, not cooked. Can I eat an apple or you pick off an orange? Yes. A pear, a peach. But you can also saute it and eat it. Can I eat an onion raw? I guess. Put it in a salad raw all the time. You can also cook an onion. So the halacha says, "Hamevashel davar haraui la'achila gam belo bishul." If I cook, no one does this, but if I cook an apple or if I cook an onion that can be eaten raw, but I cook it or I saute it on Shabbat, you're still chayav. It's still chayav. Velachen hamevashel perot o mechamem et hamayim chayav. Therefore, if you cook fruit or if you boil water on Shabbat, you are chayav mideoraita. Ve'af shem reuim le'achil kemot she'en chayim. Even though they can be eaten while raw, it's still asur mideoraita to boil water or to cook fruit on Shabbat. Ulam hamevashel davar she'en derech levashelo kelal en o she'en abishul matkino kelal patur. If you cook something that you never cook normally, or the cooking doesn't enhance the product at all, it would be patur al asur, but it wouldn't be chayav. Yeah, so based on the Rambam, very, very good. So again, this is very important halacha. It's still asur to cook fruit, to cook onions, to boil water, mideoraita as well, even though you can eat it raw. Halacha hasn't changed, and it's still important to be machmir. Wrap up, not machmir, that's still a halacha. We'll wrap up for today. Chazak ubaruch.